Hola! I wanted to talk about something that I've been observing for quite some time, and I've noticed a lot about it. Kind of done some experiments and observed a lot. So here's my take on it. And some people might be triggered, but take it as truth or take it with a grain of salt. I'm going to be talking about the evil in systems and when they can become that way, even when they seem so good and positive. With systems, they can be a really good tool for us or something that holds us back and keeps us where we're at as far as our mindset, our thinking, and our production. With systems that we create them to be efficient, to help us get things done and improve. The fact that they help us improve and everything, we create a way of doing things that works, right? It makes sense. The problem here is when people become attached to those systems, whatever it is, a certain way of doing things or a certain way of thinking of this is the right way, this is the best way. They create it and then they're so attached to it, and other people's form a group to come together to get something done. It happens so much in business. It's about the systems, right? It's so prevalent in the world today. In school systems, education, the government, our political systems, the way everything is set up, religion, systems we develop within our own minds, within ourselves, in families, family structures. They are good, right? They help us get to where we want to go. They help us grow. But the problem here is when people become so attached that they can't break away from it, and it's like hurting a part of them. They become the system, like that's what they are, and they don't know anything beyond that, because it's like, oh, this makes sense, put two and two together and it makes sense, then they're just gonna follow it, of course, like why not? And then you wonder why you're not happy, like in jobs, in business, they're following all these systems and structures, and the business might be thriving, might be great, but people are losing themselves. They are dying. Their health is going away. Their ability to think and have that free thinking, and they're just told what to do by the system. So this can be a really good tool or a form of evil. Just recognizing that. We all get caught up in habits and patterns and structures, which are good, but there's another side to that, and it goes too far in a lot of areas. That's why so many people are suffering. That's why our world is suffering, is because we don't know how to think freely. Like, everyone relies on their structure that they were brought up in, whatever they were taught, like this is how to think, like you have to be told what to do in order to do it, and there's hardly any creativity outside of that or things happening outside of those things. And it's people who are holding, it's like the system's taken over the people and they're allowing it, like our government, to the point where we let it happen. We let us get this far because we create something like this is right. The system works. That's right. We always go back to this. And anyone outside of that, anyone who really questions something or tries to improve or change things up, anyone who actually doesn't, like, has a hard time following that, suffers. And that's how it was in education. Anyone who didn't work with the system suffered for so long. We get to the point where the world is suffering. We put our power, all of our actions, into this thing that it says here. The instructions shows that it's taken over you because you don't know how to think of anything outside of that. You just keep going back to that, on what you were told, what you were taught, whatever it was. You get offended when someone doesn't agree with you or someone doesn't follow that structure or system. They're wrong because you're so much in your right mind, like this is the way we do it. Anything outside of that is wrong because this is right. Anything else is just wrong. everyone outside of that is just wrong. That's how it is. Anyone who tests the system, whether that's government, the school systems, religion, family structures, the people who rebel are the troublemakers. They're the bad ones. According to what? According to who? According to your system that you set up in your own mind, that it should be done this way. We should think this way, think and do things this way. That's what's happening today in the world. Like, anyone who challenges the system is a threat. This happens in all the things. In school, anyone who challenged the teacher is a threat, and they would be punished. Same here. Government. Anyone who has potential to be great or have an actual influence are shut down. Religion. Anyone who goes outside of what's right, not living righteously, on doing all the perfect things, are shamed according to these set of beliefs that we've been going off of for so long. And that's why people take it personally when other people challenge these things. They attach themselves so much. They are the system, and they're what's keeping it there. The people is what's keeping it there, and they don't recognize it. They're the reason it's so stuck. It's something we created so we can undo. It's tearing us apart because it doesn't work. It doesn't work for so many people. It's not working for our world because look at where we're at. Sure, there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good in the system. It helps, okay? Governments, all these things, they help. Education, we learn. Family, there's organization, there's structure. But then when someone doesn't want to follow that, it tears them apart within your own family. Families being torn apart because of certain structures and systems set up. There's chaos in families because they had set up a system and people don't want to necessarily follow all those rules. They want to think and do something else. It creates commotion because it hurts them to step away from that. Especially parents, when they are so in their structured ways, it hurts them when people don't follow that. And that's how we are as humans. We want people to follow us. We want people to listen. And it hurts us when they don't. We wear this system on our back and tell people what to do because we rely on this thing. We're looking at this paper like, oh, it says this, do this, do this. If you're not, you're bad, you're wrong because of this book or because of this curriculum we made. If you don't fit these things, you're bad. Like, get them out. Don't let them be too loud. They're too opinionated. They're too judgy. Take it how you're going to take it. But wherever you're at, start recognizing it. Because you will. People look at this and say, this makes sense. This is right. Anything outside is wrong. And if you don't do it, we're going to have a problem. Stop emotionally attaching yourselves to these systems and structures. They are there to help you improve, but systems won't work forever. Throughout history, throughout time, we create these structures and systems that help us get places. But guess what? There's going to be a day where something better, we come up with something better. So we have to be willing to let go of those things and see what really works best at the time. Because we, as humans, as spirits, are constantly changing and going through different experiences. If we're going to get ourselves stuck in some way of being, how are we really going to improve and really get somewhere? The reason why we're so attached, that's part of the ego. That's part of the ego mind. That's part of the separation. It's what separates us. These things over our heads telling us what to do. These things we write down, these things we create them. And that is part of the ego mind. Maybe it wasn't created that way in the first place, but if we are so stuck to it, it becomes part of the egotistical mind. If it's gonna really hurt us to let go of something like that, something outside of us like that, we're too attached. Start looking at yourself and your own system you created in your head. Or maybe you didn't create, but you were born there. Or you grew up this way. You went to school. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna hurt your ego to let go of some things, to actually wake up and recognize that this is actually happening. It's gonna be painful. But guess what? That's growth. And that is so necessary, because that is when you move past this me. That is when you move past the separation mindset. That's when you're going to start realizing that we created this for ourselves. We got us in this. And you're not a victim to the system. We don't have to listen to those things that we created ourselves. We are meant to constantly change. So please don't attach yourself emotionally, mentally to these things. That way, when people start to rebel, when people do something different, you can still love them. That's why it's so hard for people to love or understand one another, because we place so much more value on these systems we created and our own evolvement and our own families. And it's really about time we start waking up to this and start using them as a tool instead of having them use us. Stop being a victim to the system and start asking, how come we do that? How come? Like, why? Really, why? Like, what is it doing to you in your life? So, take it or leave it. And I hope you have the best day ever.